Ports, vital for our economy as they are crucial in getting our goods in the hands of our buyers. But how did the buyer initially get to us? The internet changed all of it. Today, buyers are in control. The impact is huge, also for B2B. But have you adapted yet? Probably not. At LeadFabric, we facilitate the transformation businesses need to go through. But where do you start? What are the building blocks? We talked to John Neeson from SiriusDecision when he was recently in Europe to speak for a group of C-level executives LeadFabric assembled.
Hello, Koen.
Hi.
So
Hi,
good to
John.
see
Nice
you.
to meet you. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Hi, John. Welcome to Europe. I should actually say Antwerp. Thanks for coming over.
You know, it's great to be here, Koen. We were here a couple years ago with you, and the energy in the room was awesome. So I'm really looking forward to tonight.
Okay, thank you. So for those who are not familiar with SiriusDecision, can you shed some light on what your firm is about?
Sure. So we're founded in 2001. We're a company that focuses on best practices in sales, product management, and marketing for B2B companies. And we do that by researching and creating models of what we see are effective and productive ways to grow top-line revenue, providing data so you can kind of measure yourself on those three areas, and content that you can see what other organizations are doing. So it's a fun business to be in.
Okay. So 2 weeks ago I was at your summit in Florida. I believe it's already the 9th one you were hosting then. One of the main themes was intelligent growth. So does that mean that there is a thing called non-intelligent growth as well?
It's a good question. Well, I think Wall Street would say it's not intelligent if you grew by 800% one year and you're flat the next year. So the question is, how do you grow effectively? And what we have found is that there's really 5 paths to growth that organizations are either doing it by going into new markets, new offerings, new buyers, through acquisitions, or being more productive. But to do that consistently means that you need to have predictability, you need to be profitable on your way to profitability, which is really important. You need to be agile in today's economy. You have to build a model that's sustainable and scalable, and that's what really creates intelligent growth.
Okay, that makes sense. So, and in everything, of course, the buyer is pretty centrally positioned, I assume.
Definitely, the buyer is changing, and every year, even more so. So today, when you talk to senior executives around the world, 67% of the time, their preference in how they deal with their suppliers is through some form of digital means. So more and more, your buyer's journey is becoming a place where suddenly you're not used to getting to. There's still always going to be the need for this face-to-face, but you have this invisible part that we need to discover, and that's a great opportunity for sales and marketing to align effectively together.
Yeah, I believe it's your own research that states that it takes like 60 to 70% of the buyer's journey to be completed before the salesperson gets in contact with that buyer.
Correct. It can be. It varies by market. And if you talk to salespeople, they'll tell you that about 1/3 of the buyer's journey they believe is now disappeared, but the buyers say it's probably twice that. And that's, you'll find in some markets that are new, it might be a little bit less. In other markets where it's very established, it might be a lot more. So, yeah, it's a challenging time if you're a salesperson. In fact, the average sales cycle, if you look at it in duration of time, it's about 22% longer than it was in 2001. And a lot of it's because they just don't see a lot of what's going on. So we have to, frankly, use marketing techniques to help them.
Yeah, so sales shouldn't be afraid that they're disappearing.
No, they're not disappearing at all. There's always going to be a need and a reality that people buy from people. And there's a reality that the sales skills, however, are changing. And that, in a lot of ways, as one head of marketing said to me, that I've been trying to get my salespeople not to market. Actually, I give up. I'm going to help them market. And that's really the right answer. How do you help them market, and how do you also provide them better marketing so they can be more productive? And I think that's the real innovation that we're seeing today in the marketplace.
Okay. And what's the role of technology in all of this?
Technology really is essential because, when you think about how one buys, what you really want is your supplier to determine that they can see some of your behavior and suggest what you need next, as opposed to forcing upon you some level of activity that you don't need. And the only way you really can do that is with technology. So there's much better technology today in content management, in marketing automation, in CRM. So you really, in order to get productive sales and marketing, you need technology in order to really make it work. Now, that also brings with it a set of challenges, because it's not the technology alone that really makes this work. There's the strategy behind it, the content, it's the combination that really makes the difference.
So we're in Europe here, and Europe is known for its mid-market and SMB landscape compared to the more enterprise-oriented landscape in the US. Yet a lot of these companies are operating on a global scale, and when we talk to their business leaders, they often say that this sales marketing alignment strategy thing is not yet something for them. When we talk about the technology, the enabling technology, same answer. What would be your answer, or what would your advice be for those business leaders?
Well, I think first, if you're a business that's selling to these smaller businesses, there's a reality that the smaller the business, the more that the buyer is going to do more work online, the more that they're going to do more things on their own. So how do you help them do that? How do you get them the right content? How do you bring them to the right area that's going to make them very, very productive? And I think at the same time, when we look at organizations that really excel, particularly in demand generation, the smaller ones can get there faster because they're more nimble, and they have now a lot of access to different tools that they really didn't, 7 or 8 years ago. So I think it's actually a really interesting time, and even more so for, I think, European-based companies, because if I look around the globe, I think US-based companies probably tried things faster, and at the same time you have those organizations that had to reinvent themselves. You don't have to go through that step. I think a lot of the conservativeness that you see in this marketplace could take advantage of a lot of the innovation that has been occurring. Even broadly, when you look at marketing innovation or marketing automation, it's still very underpenetrated. It's probably about 16% across all industries. Tech is much higher, but that suggests we have a long, long way to go. Now, those that are using those types of tools, they're getting much better results. So it's a really compelling reason to consider, if you're not looking at those tools, to really look at it in that whole strategy that surrounds it.
After summer, somewhere in September, and then some bit later in October, we're having our masterclass event in the same building over here. And then I think the week or the month later, you have your own summit in London. What can people expect when they would attend such a summit?
Well, I think first, coming to your masterclass, I think, is a lot of fun, because we now have a variety of experts that come forward to say, here are some of the best practices that we see in a very informal way. To be among your peers, to kind of hear what they're doing, to see these best practices, to talk about it. So that sort of structure is really a really neat place, and one where I think if you go to, you suddenly will look around the room saying, gee, I'm not alone, people are faced with the same issues, and I'm learning a lot from my peers. Our summit actually is kind of a nice compliment a month later, because now that'll be, probably about 500 or 600 people from across, the continent and in the UK, and you'll get to see some best practices themselves presented, and also some content from us and benchmarks that I think will be really, really helpful. So I think it's a nice blend.
So thanks, John, for coming over. I'm very much looking forward to your presentation tonight, as well as both events later this year. Thanks once again for coming over.
Thank you, Koen, for having me.
If you're interested in attending our next event with John and other global thought leaders, then please mark your calendar for September the 16th. Or go to www.leadfabric.com/businessclass.